So this is a little different from what I usually put up, but I figured that this might be kind of relatable to people who watch me. I guess most of us have probably been around for a while at this point. But basically, I've just been thinking a lot about how much things have changed, even in my lifetime, even in like less than a decade. You go back like 8 years, and I mean, it's just not even, the world today is not even recognizable. For people in my generation and younger, millennials and younger, and I don't like to feed into the generational divide stuff very much because I just feel like it's just more sort of divide and conquer stuff. But for people my age and younger, it seems like not to get too doom and gloom, but it just kind of seems like we don't have a whole lot to look forward to, We don't have a whole lot to work towards or to, hope for, I guess. that sounds maybe a little melodramatic, because there's all these people who've like lived through civil wars and maybe some of you out there have, but I guess I really haven't per se. But all the same, the future doesn't seem bright for us in, the real life, let's say. And by that same token, the internet isn't what it used to be. 15, 20 years ago, it was something that, had a barrier to entry. You needed a PC. This is obviously the pre-smartphone era. And so it was mainly populated by people who, I guess you call them geeks or whatever. And there was such a sense of like sort of levity and merry prankster spirit, and people didn't take things seriously. That old trite thing, like the internet is serious business, tongue-in-cheek thing, because it wasn't, because it was an escape. It was a sanctuary away from, like a boring, mundane daily existence or, the day-to-day drudgery of quote-unquote real life. But at this point, you don't even have the internet as a sanctuary. It is just like an extension of all of the ugliness in the real world multiplied by 100, because of course it is, because there's all this social engineering and astroturfing going on. And so that paints a pretty grim picture, in my opinion, because there's times where it just sort of makes you think like, what's the point? Well, let's just, put it simply here, and maybe this is, the most like glass half empty reading of everything. And, I'm no stranger to pessimism, of course, but you don't really have anything to work towards or look forward to in quote unquote real life. And you don't have an escape from real life in the internet or entertainment or really much of anything anymore. It's all sort of like converging into the same ugly mess. There's no bread and circus anymore. Like now it's just, like I said before, an ugly extension of all of the, crazy things you see in real life, or depressing things or hateful things, or just like, I hate to be one of those guys making a trite comment about like how things used to be better back in the day, and really took it for granted. But I guess that's pretty much what I want to say, though. It's like I never could have imagined 10 to 15 years ago that it would seem so grim, that it would just seem like everything you do is damage control. You're just like desperately trying to scrounge up a few spare crumbs of fun and enjoyment that you can still find. That would be your life, and that would be the best you could hope for, because you weren't going to have you're not going to have like the robust freedom and opportunity that people used to have. Everything has been so curtailed and sanitized, and whether it's like, your quote unquote real life existence where, you just, nobody can get ahead. Everything's such a struggle. or it's the internet existence where everything is heavily curtailed and sanitized and censored and regulated, and nobody can say what they think or do much of anything because of censorship or copyright or whatever it is. And I don't know, man. It's just it's kind of grim. One thing I was touching on recently was even like on this site here on YouTube, and that's something I've bitched about for a long time. And it's like, just when you think that it can't get any worse than this, it's like, the people who run YouTube over at Google, or, whatever, however the hierarchy is, whatever. I mean, they're all garbage people. But that being said, they keep managing to find ways to make it worse. And, like I've been saying in the and agreeing with other people about in the comments on the last video I put up, the sense of community, like the human aspect of it and the community aspect of YouTube has, that's been gone for years and years, like it hasn't been, the quote, I know it's trite to bring this up, but the broadcast yourself thing, it hasn't been like that in a long time. And the death of video responses and especially, and private messages, that's like a 1-2 punch for just like, killing the community aspect of YouTube. Ironically, YouTube was better when it was more of a social media website, and people could actually like connect with each other, and because videos weren't so heavily curtailed and regulated and censored into oblivion, you could actually like make things and put them up, and they'd stay up, and other people would see them. And now I've had like oh god, it's unreal. I've had like 10-year-old videos removed because of titles. Nothing in the video themselves, because of the fucking titles of the videos. I've had I even had an unlisted video that was like a fight thing. It was like some, I don't know, these drunk guys fighting in a parking lot or whatever, and I overdubbed it with sound effects, and it was something I'd showed to friends of mine, and that gets taken down. It's an unlisted video, and like the AI overlords strike it down because of violence, or it's totally bloodless fight video. But it's like nothing is allowed on here anymore. It's essentially like morphing into TV 2.0. PMs are gone, video responses are gone. You can barely make comments. They get shadow banned all the time. And it might be a little better now than it was, but you can still go into any given comment thread and see like a bunch of like replies to something that just don't show up. And that's really like the internet in general at this point. Everything, like people are just so it's just a mess. The atomization and isolation that has gone on, that goes on now. I guess this could just go on and on. I don't want to ramble too much more, but it's just kind of sad, It just kind of seems like, even though there were problems back then, at least for me, things were just simpler, better, and I didn't know what I had. I was yet another person who didn't really know what he had and didn't take advantage of it to its fullest extent, And it's a shame to be in that position, to be yet another person in that position, and to feel like pretty much every avenue of opportunity is gone, and that we'll never have the same kind of fun we used to. And it's just, just when you think that it couldn't get any worse, that it's like there's always a way it can get worse. And so I don't know. to me, it almost feels like I've stepped into an alternate reality. I mean, it just doesn't seem like things should be like this, you know. And this is something I've talked about with a few friends of mine, and you know, they tend to feel the same way. You know, things just shouldn't be this way. Somewhere down the line, something went wrong and sort of like derailed everything. And you know, and it, I mean, you just kind of wonder, like, when are we going to get back on track? Is it ever going to happen? Or, you know, are things just going to continue to deteriorate? And I don't know. I mean, I don't want to be hopelessly pessimistic, but it just kind of seems like that's where it's headed. And, I don't know. Anyway, this is another take that ended up being kind of a long-winded, rambling mess. But I'm sure some of you guys out there can identify with some of the sentiment in here. I mean, it's just a shame. You know, it's really easy to get nostalgic and think about what used to be and how easy things used to be, and you know how much healthier you used to be, and you know, and just how much freedom you really used to have, you know? I mean, just one of those things, you know? Another trite saying, you don't know what you got until it's gone. Well, you know, that definitely applies here. We really didn't know what we had. Anyway.